Good morning. We're back here on the morning show chatting with Emily Tracy, running for state senate of District 8 in Colorado. And before we get on with it here, a big thanks to the YMCA, the Rocky, snowmountainranch.org. Summer season's wrapping up out there. Still a beautiful time in the fall. The hiking out there is absolutely magical with the leaves changing. But look for them this winter with cross-country skiing, tubing, snowshoeing, horseback riding, sleigh rides. They're actually going to be on our program next, following Emily Tracy here. So stick around. We'll have the program director of Snow Mountain Ranch on. But Emily, so I forget what we were even talking about in the break that I said I wanted to talk about.
Much.
Oh, I was talking about, is this basically going to be a full-time job for, what amount of hours are we committing to being a state senator?
Well,
it's kind of a gray area.
A good question. I view it as a full-time job. It's the way it's structured in Colorado, you're supposed to be a citizen legislator, and so some folks who serve in the legislature go back to other work when the legislature is not in session. It's in session from early January to early May, and that session length is limited in law. But I view it as a full-time job because—
What happens in May?
Well, it just comes to an end.
Till
the next January.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
so
it's part-time. So yeah, especially in a district like this one, where it's so large, so diverse, a lot of traveling to get around and really meet with folks and talk with folks. If I'm elected, I view this as a full-time job.
And as you well know, you're not on the beach from May to January. There's a lot to learn and a lot to find out about your territory.
Interim committees and a lot of issues coming up locally that you want to connect with local officials on. And so yeah, it would be full-time for me.
Well, I'd be doing our morning show a disservice if we didn't go back to water for a little bit. Because I feel like every show we at least talk about the water up here because it is extraordinarily important, especially on this end of the county to our culture, but not only at this end of the county. We have all the ranchers in West Grand. We have throughout the state rafting companies, and I mean, you name it, everybody's greatly affected by our water, and a lot of our water is needed for this massive population growth on the Front Range. And so, what do you see as challenges, or what are you hoping to?
Well, there are many challenges in Colorado. I think overall, and not to get too deep into water law, we don't have time and don't want to, but we have really pretty good water law in Colorado considering we're a semi-arid state. It's governed kind of like a property right. Your right to divert water is a property right that you can buy and sell. Now, of course, what scares some of us is over time, as that limited resource becomes more scarce, as population grows, does water truly flow uphill toward money, as some people have said in the past? And what does that do for rural Colorado? And I think it's a real concern. So we have, in Colorado, you hear different percentages, but something like 80 to 85% of our water is ag water. And I'm a big supporter of agriculture in Colorado. It's one of our major industries. And I know that folks around the state are beginning to look at some creative ways so that people, ag owners of water, don't fear using it or losing it. If they don't use it up, or their right every year, they fear that they'll lose that right. So I know there's some creative things going on in that area. There's creative things going on in municipal use of water. Energy is a user of water, although on the larger scheme of things, it's not a major user of water. But I think for us here on the western side of the Continental Divide, the concern really is maintaining our water quality and quantity for our future community growth and for recreation. In-stream flow has become a real big deal now with rafting, fishing, keeping the waters at the right temperature so the fish can survive, for example. So there are many issues here. I've heard here in Grand County even concern about water quality in Grand Lake, which is such a wonderful resource in this county, this large natural lake.
It's Colorado's largest natural lake.
Absolutely. And so it's issues like that, making sure that the quality in Grand Lake remains what it needs to be, because it is such a wonderful area to live in and area for tourists to come visit. So many issues around water, but I think we need a strong voice in the legislature to make sure that over time this growing Front Range population doesn't, through its growing wealth and power, take away more water from the western slope than what we want to see happen.
All right, and I guess the districts there's 8 total districts. Is that right?
35 Senate districts.
Oh, I'm sorry, 35 Senate? Holy cow, I didn't know there's that many. And yours is that big?
Yes, yes.
That's unbelievable.
It's all, the districts are all drawn based on population.
Oh.
So we're in rural Colorado out here, and we love it. And that's one thing I think it's important to point out, that no matter where I am in this district, it's clear that people love where they live. It's not like they're trying to rearrange their lives so they could move to Denver, frankly. They like living out here. But they've got to have roads, and they need to have broadband, which is the highway of the 21st century and beyond, and they need to have resources for their schools. And so they need a strong voice in the state Senate to help protect those resources.
And so if there's 35 districts population base, I mean, do you feel like you're a small voice, that you need to be a loud voice?
You need to be a loud voice.
In order to be heard, else the rural kind of gets dropped.
It's kind of what I talked about before, where serving in elective office, you're both a leader and a follower. So you have to have that strong voice of the leader. And you also have to pay attention to what your constituents are saying and talk with them regularly and travel around the district regularly.
And what do you see as the biggest challenge facing District 8 in Colorado?
I think it's just having that strong voice. And I think that's true for all rural districts in the state.
More or less not being forgotten?
Because, yeah, exactly. Because it's one man, one vote, or one person, one vote, if we want to modernize that phrase a little bit. And so we don't have the voices, and we don't want the population that the Front Range has. But it tends to drown out the voice when it's based on one person, one vote. So you need, every elected official around rural Colorado and northwest Colorado needs to have that strong voice and make sure they're tuned into their constituency and following what that constituency wants them to do.
Well, Emily, thanks so much for being on our show. It's been a real pleasure getting to chat with you and to learn more about what you have coming up. And I guess the last question we can ask you is, why are you running?
I love public service. I've worked in public service in a variety of ways over the years, whether it's in government or for nonprofits or in elective office years ago. I served 8 years on the city council in Canyon City. And I love that. I love that relationship with the people. And it's such a wonderful educational process that, I love living in this part of the state, and I want to represent this part of the state in the state Senate. So that's what I'm working hard to do.
Well, you can't argue with that, Emily. And we'll definitely be watching for you this November. And once again, Emily Tracy will be on the ballot this November, is State Senate District 8 for Colorado. Definitely check her out at her website. Do you have a website?
I do, emilytracy.com. Easy to remember.
Well, we hope to have you back, and hopefully it'll be as our state senator of District 8 next time.
Thanks so much.
Once again, stick around. We're going to have Snow Mountain Ranch and the program director to talk about their beautiful 5,000 acres. Check them out at snowmountainranch.org. We'll be back in a moment.